As the years passed, the world grew more vibrant, and the people found new ways to coexist with a delicate balance between light and dark. Life flourished in ways unimaginable before, and the scars of the past began to fade, though never forgotten. The memories of the battles fought, the sacrifices made, and the suffering endured were woven into the fabric of the world's history, but they no longer defined the future. The Guardian, still ever present but no longer burdened by the weight of endless struggle, continued her watch. She had become more than just a symbol of hope. She was a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit. And with each passing day, she saw the strength of the world's people grow. They had learned to shape their own destinies, to build, to grow, and to protect the delicate balance they had inherited. The cities flourished, and the land blossomed with the return of countless species of plants and animals once thought lost. The harmony between the elements, earth, wind, fire, and water, had been restored, each one finding its place in the grand cycle. There was no longer a constant fight for dominance, no endless struggle for supremacy. Instead, the forces of nature, like the forces of light and dark, worked together in symbiosis. Though peace had settled, there was still work to be done. The shadows, though no longer a looming threat, required careful tending. They still had the potential to twist, to grow into something darker if left unchecked. And so, the Guardian and her allies continued their work, guiding the world forward, teaching the next generation the lessons of balance and harmony. But the Guardian's thoughts often drifted to the whispers of the past, the ancient entities who had shaped the world long before the battle began. She knew that there were forces beyond even her understanding, older and more mysterious than the light or dark. They had watched, silent and patient, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. The world was not as it seemed, and there were still secrets buried deep beneath the surface. One evening, as the stars sparkled brightly above, the Guardian stood once more at the edge of the land. A soft breeze brushed against her skin, carrying with it the scent of the forest and the sound of the distant rivers. But there was something different this time. Something in the air had changed, an energy she had not felt in a long time. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. She stood still, listening, waiting. Her mind, always attuned to the shifts in the world, caught the faintest tremor in the air. It was a feeling she had not experienced before, both familiar and foreign. The balance between light and dark had been restored, but there were other forces at work, other currents beneath the surface. The whispers from the past, the ancient voices that had long remained silent, began to stir once more. The Guardian felt them, pulling at the edges of her mind. They were not the shadows she had once fought against, nor the light she had defended. They were something else entirely, something older, more primal. The time of rest, the time of rebuilding, was coming to an end. A new chapter was about to begin, one that would test the world in ways it had never known before. The Guardian knew that the journey would never truly end. The cycles of light and dark would continue, as would the delicate dance between the forces of nature. But she also knew that there was more to the world than what the eyes could see, more than what could be understood by even the wisest of minds. And so, with the whispers of the past echoing in her heart, the Guardian turned away from the horizon and set off toward the unknown. The path ahead was unclear, but the world was not done with its story yet. Neither was she. The world would continue to turn, ever shifting, ever evolving, always dancing between the light and the dark. And the Guardian would continue her watch, knowing that no matter where the journey took her, the balance would always need protection, always need hope. As the Guardian ventured further, the whispers of ancient powers grew louder, no longer just a soft murmur, but a steady hum beneath the surface of the world. The wind seemed to carry them from distant corners, their presence a constant reminder that the world had not yet uncovered all of its secrets. The time for rebuilding, for mending what had been broken, was over. The world had healed, but the unseen forces, the forgotten entities, were stirring once again. The cities that flourished were now becoming aware of something new on the horizon. It was subtle at first, a shift in the weather, a shadow moving in the corners of the streets, the sudden silence that would fall over entire communities at dusk. The people felt it too, but they did not understand it. They knew only the peace of their newfound lives, their peaceful existence after so much suffering. But the Guardian could feel it, something old was awakening. The ancient entities, those forgotten forces that had once shaped the very fabric of the world, had not been fully banished. They had merely been lying dormant, waiting. They were older than the light, older than the darkness, and their power was as enigmatic as it was ancient. Now they were returning, not with wrath, but with something far more dangerous: knowledge. The Guardian's steps quickened, her heart heavy with the understanding that the world, though at peace, was not yet safe. There was more to uncover, more to understand, and more to protect. The Ancient Ones did not seek to conquer, they sought to reveal. And so, the Guardian's journey led her deep into the heart of the earth, into places where even the oldest maps dared not go. She felt the pull of these ancient forces growing stronger with every step, and yet there was something else, a sense of duty, a sense of being guided, as though something or someone was leading her forward. The deeper she traveled, the more the world around her seemed to change. The air grew thick with a strange energy, and the very earth seemed to hum beneath her feet. This was no ordinary place. It was a realm beyond time, beyond the cycles of light and dark. It was a place where the veil between worlds was thinnest, where ancient forces waited, patient and still. The Guardian finally arrived at an ancient temple, half buried and forgotten by all but the oldest of creatures. Its walls were covered in runes, strange symbols that pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly glow. The temple seemed alive, its presence both welcoming and unnerving, as if it had been waiting for her as she stepped inside. The whispers she had heard for so long grew louder, clearer. They spoke not in words but in sensations, emotions that flooded her mind.
Fear, power, loss, and above all knowledge.
Knowledge that could unravel everything the world had fought for, everything it had rebuilt. But it was not the end. It was only the beginning. The temple's heart lay deep within its stone walls, and there, the Guardian discovered the true nature of the ancient forces that had once shaped the world. They were not just forces of nature or elements. They were the keepers of balance, the silent architects of the cycles of light and dark. They were the embodiment of the equilibrium that governed all things, beyond what any mortal being could comprehend. The Guardian stood before them, understanding that their return was not a threat, but a revelation. The world had been healed, yes, but it had also been transformed. It was ready for the next phase of its existence, the next evolution of balance. The ancient forces would guide it, not through domination, but through enlightenment. With a deep breath, the Guardian knelt before the temple's heart. The ancient powers whispered their final message, a message of hope, of change, and of understanding. It was not about the eternal struggle between light and dark. It was about learning to live in the space between, in the balance that governed the very essence of life. The Guardian rose, the knowledge of the ancient forces now a part of her. She had completed her journey, not just as a protector of light, but as a keeper of the greater balance, one that transcended the physical, the known, and the tangible. The world had been changed again, but this time, it was not by force. It was by understanding, by accepting the complexities of existence. The Guardian, now a vessel of ancient wisdom, knew that her role was not to fight against the dark, but to ensure that the balance remained, forever shifting, forever evolving, but always alive. And as she emerged from the temple, the sun began to rise once again. The world, though forever marked by its scars, would continue on its journey. The Guardian would continue hers, ever watchful, ever learning, for she knew now that the dance of light and dark was not one of conflict, but one of coexistence. In the distance, the shadows still loomed, but they were no longer a threat. They were simply another part of the cycle. And as long as the Guardian stood, the world would continue to turn, the dance of life and balance never ending. As the Guardian emerged from the ancient temple, the world seemed to take a collective breath. The winds, once erratic and unpredictable, now settled into a gentle rhythm. The trees swayed, and the rivers flowed with a calm assurance that had not been felt in ages. It was as if the earth itself had acknowledged the return of the ancient forces, and in doing so, embraced the harmony that now defined the world. The whispers that had once filled her mind were now quiet, but the knowledge they carried remained with her, etched deep within her being. The power of the ancient ones was not something to be wielded or controlled. It was a force to be understood, a force to be respected. It was the very essence of life, the pulse that kept the universe in motion, whether in the light of day or the shadows of night. With this new understanding, the Guardian knew her role was far from over. The world was at peace, but peace was not something that could be taken for granted. There would always be those who sought to disrupt the balance, those who failed to understand the delicate nature of existence. The darkness, though no longer a looming threat, still had its place in the world. And so, her task would always be to ensure that balance was maintained, not through force, but through wisdom and understanding. The people too had begun to recognize the subtle shift in the air. They felt the change, though they could not yet fully grasp its significance. They had rebuilt, they had thrived, but now they would need to learn once more. The world was not simply a place to survive, but a place to learn, to evolve, to coexist. And so the Guardian traveled across the lands, sharing the knowledge she had gained, teaching the people the lessons of the past, and guiding them toward a future where light and dark could live in harmony. It was not an easy task, for many still clung to old ways, to old fears, but she remained patient. She had learned that change, true change, took time. And with time, the people would come to understand the greater truths of the world. The Guardians of the past had fought to protect the world from darkness. Now, the new Guardians would fight to protect the world from ignorance and fear. They would stand as a bridge between the ancient forces and the people, guiding them toward a future where all could thrive, where light and dark could coexist in peace. Years passed, and the world slowly but surely changed. The cycle of life continued, the balance remained, and the people flourished. The Guardian's work was never truly done, but as she stood once more on the edge of the world, watching the sun rise over the horizon, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The world had been given the tools to live in harmony, and now it was up to the people to wield them wisely. The whispers of the ancient ones had faded, but their presence remained, embedded in the very fabric of existence. The Guardian's heart was at peace, knowing that the world had found its balance once again, not through domination, but through understanding. And as the years turned into centuries, the legend of the Guardian lived on, passed down through the generations. Her story, and the story of the ancient forces, became part of the world's history, a history that was not defined by conflict, but by the eternal dance of light and dark, ever shifting, ever changing, but always alive. The world had learned that balance, true balance, was not something to be achieved once and for all. It was something to be embraced, to be lived with, and to be respected. And as long as the Guardian's legacy lived on, the world would continue to turn, ever alive, ever in motion, ever seeking harmony. For in the end, it was not the end of the journey that mattered, but the journey itself, a journey of understanding, of coexistence, and of the eternal balance between light and dark. Yes, centuries passed, the tale of the Guardian became more legend than memory, woven into the fabric of the world's stories. The ancient forces, once hidden in the shadows of time, became symbols of wisdom and understanding. The world had grown, evolving with each generation that embraced the balance of light and dark. No longer were the people fearful of the unknown, they had learned to respect it, to live alongside it. But even in a world so peaceful, the cycle of change never ceased. The Guardian, though now a figure of myth, was still a presence in the hearts of those who walked the earth. Her legacy lived on in the teachings she had left behind, the understanding that all things, whether light or dark, were parts of a greater whole. The cities that had once been born from struggle and fear now thrived in a delicate harmony, each one a testament to the resilience of the people who had rebuilt them. The ruins of old conflicts had long been reclaimed by nature, and in their place, new growth had emerged. Nature itself seemed to reflect the harmony of the world, wild but tamed, untamed but peaceful. Yet, deep beneath the surface, something stirred. It was not a threat, nor a danger, but a whisper, a ripple in the fabric of existence. The ancient forces, though no longer actively guiding the world, were still present. They existed as a reminder, a soft echo of the Guardian's teachings, waiting to be remembered. And one day, in the quiet of a forgotten valley, a child was born, a child with the gift to hear the whispers of the ancient forces. The child, though young, had the spark of understanding, the spark that had once ignited the Guardian's own journey. This child would come to learn that the balance between light and dark was not a thing to be taken for granted. It was something to be carried, nurtured, and protected for all time. The world, ever evolving, continued its journey. The dance of light and dark, the balance between them, was now woven into the very heart of the earth. And though the Guardian's footsteps were no longer heard upon the land, her legacy remained, carried by those who understood that balance was the key to all things. As the years stretched into eternity, the world remained in a state of flux, but this time, it was a calm flux, a gentle, steady change. The ancient forces no longer whispered in secrecy. They spoke openly, guiding those who were willing to listen. The child, now grown and wise, carried the torch of the Guardian, not as a replacement, but as a continuation. A new generation of Guardians would rise, not in the image of one person, but in the spirit of balance itself. The legend of the Guardian, and the world she had protected, would never fade. It would be told and retold, passed from one generation to the next, a reminder of the fragile balance between light and dark. And in this new world, the story was never finished. It was an ongoing tale, a journey that would never truly end, as long as there were hearts willing to listen to the whispers of the past, and hands ready to protect the balance that sustained life itself. The world was alive, ever-changing, always evolving, but forever rooted in the lessons learned long ago. And so, the cycle continued, as it always had. The world turned, the light and dark danced, and the Guardian's legacy lived on. Forever, always, in balance.